Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Babylon's Fall. Now, for those of you who haven't really been following E3 over the last couple of days, yesterday was Square Enix's presentation, and during that presentation, we received a couple of updates in regards to the game Babylon's Fall, which, for those of you that are not aware, this is a game that is in development by Platinum Games, and that is where my interest comes from. I'm a big Platinum Games fan. I love Vanquish, I love Bayonetta, I love almost everything that Platinum Games has their hands on, so naturally I am very curious about Babylon's Fall. So I checked out their presentation, and after the presentation went on to see the long-form interview that they have, where they explain some more of the mechanics of Babylon's Fall, and today I'm going to be summing up all of those mechanics for you. I'm going to be dividing this particular video into a couple of different sections so that it makes it easier for you guys to follow stuff along. I'm going to be starting naturally with the basics. What is this game going to be about? Well, for starters, one of the biggest things that I'm not sure had been announced before or not is that this is going to be a 4-player co-op game. Now, due to the differences that we see on screen, specifically into Artstyle, I'm going to be talking about that a little bit further ahead. I was actually wondering if this decision to make this game a 4-player co-op thing had been something that they had decided, like, a little bit last minute, kind of how we tend to see a lot of this stuff happen in the industry. But that does not appear to be the case, because I went back and I rewatched the 2019 trailer where they only show one character, but at the end of that trailer, they actually show this image that shows 4 characters in the background, which we weren't entirely sure what that meant up until today's trailer, but, it clearly indicates that they already had the intention of making this a 4-player co-op game. Now, the developers state that playing this game is going to be basically like playing a 4-player co-op version of Nier Automata. That is kind of like the feel that they are trying to bring to this title. It is to bring the Platinum Games action-style combat to a co-op video game. So that's where they come up with the example 4-player co-op Nier Automata. Now, my biggest concern about this title, and I am not happy about some of the things that we're going to be talking about, is the fact that they announced this is going to be a live service game. And you can tell that the community is not happy either, because if you go and you watch the interview that I just talked about, the like-to-dislike ratio is completely abysmal. People heavily dislike this game. And some of you will say, okay, why? Just because it's a live service title? No, there's a little bit more to it than that, and I will get into further detail when we talk about the live service updates of portion of this video. But another important thing to mention is, even though this is a live service title, it can still be played entirely solo, as per what the developers have stated during that interview. In terms of the background of the game, so to speak, your character starts out almost as a gladiator type of character, and he has to fight through this tower in order to earn your freedom. So you're basically going to be climbing through a tower. Each floor of the tower is going to be a unique level, and at the end of each level, there is going to be a boss. Now, there hasn't really been a confirmation as to whether or not these levels are going to be procedurally generated. I believe that that is not the case. I think that these are going to be handmade levels, and that they will eventually be adding more levels as the live service aspect of this game progresses. But for starters, you're going to get like a certain number of levels, and there's going to be a story associated with it. But I wouldn't expect too deep of a story, and considering that this is going to be a live service game, most likely you're going to have to be always online. This has not been confirmed, by the way. This is just me speculating, taking into consideration some of the games that we've seen in the industry recently that announced themselves as being live service. I would expect you to always require an online connection. Again, remember, this is speculation. This is not 100% confirmed by anyone. Due to the nature of those online games, I wouldn't expect us to see some of the more spectacular scenes that we tend to see in some of Platinum Games' actions, like, some of the finishing moves of something like a Vanquish, which has a ton of slow-mo moments while your character's doing these crazy action stuff, or the stuff that happens in Bayonetta where you just summon giant monsters and kill stuff. I don't think we're going to be seeing any of that. There will still be that Platinum Games feel, particularly with this thing that is called the Gideon Coffin, that is able to pick up weapons from enemies and slam them with it. That seems like it'll be the more out there stuff that they're going to be doing with this, but, we will see how that pans out. This is going to be a hack and slash game. You're going to be getting loot by defeating enemies, and you will also be getting materials, which will then enable you to utilize an existing crafting system that will let you, complement your character by basically picking some stuff up from enemies and then picking materials and crafting stuff and, coming up together with a build. And there will be build variety, which we'll touch up on in just a few minutes. But the first thing that I wanted to point out is the art style. So they said in the interview they're going for this oil painting art style that gives the game an oil painting vibe. And I don't know if this is because of YouTube's compression or Twitch's compression, but I've watched and rewatched the latest trailer over and over and over. And I don't think that this art style is doing this game any favors. Again, it could be because of compression algorithms on YouTube. I know from personal experience that they tend to really botch certain video games, and certain games just don't look good when they're uploaded to YouTube or to Twitch. And that could be the reason why stuff just looks very weird. But one thing is for sure, and I asked this question to make sure that this wasn't just me, but during my live stream yesterday, I compared the footage of the trailer from 2019 with the footage from the trailer that was released yesterday. And then I asked my community which one of these two trailers looks better to you. And 70% of the people that voted said that the 2019 trailer looked significantly better. And this is not one of those things that is about me or my community, because if you go to the interview video where they explain, gameplay mechanics and their vision for the game, a lot of people are also complaining about the art style, that the game looks significantly worse than what it did back in 2019. And I would assume if you go to the trailer video, you're going to see a similar sentiment. So I think that this is the community as a whole just looking at the, art style that they have right now and going like, I don't know what's going on. I know for sure that there's like a weird filter in the footage that we watched yesterday. And again, this could just be something that the compression algorithms on YouTube don't react to very well. Maybe the game actually looks really good when you're watching it on your console, but as of this particular point, it looks very, very, very weird. Anyway, next up, I wanted to bring up build variety, because in a video game like this, one of the cool things is whenever you get to do different builds. You guys know me, I love doing different builds. This is something that I do a lot in Monster Hunter. And one of the things that they mentioned is that battle actions become the trigger to activate skills and draw out your strongest powers, which is kind of a weird thing. It is important to understand that this interview that I'm basing a lot of these talking points on was translated from Japanese, so there's bound to be some like translation inaccuracies in there. But I think the point is very much brought across when they explain the next point, which is you're going to be able to do different builds. And the two examples that they tell you is perfect dodge builds and aerial launch builds. So what does that mean? There's a build that you can do which basically revolves around you dodging at the exact time that you almost would have been hit. So if you've played something like, say, a Bayonetta, you're talking about a witch time dodge-like mechanic that will probably boost your damage or will, trigger something, will increase your critical damage. You guys get the idea. You're going to get a proc for doing a perfect dodge. Then the other thing was an aerial launch build, so you could potentially get skills that will increase your damage if you successfully launch enemies into the air. So, that stuff sounds interesting. You guys know me. I'm a sucker for doing multiple builds and exploring different gameplay styles. So this just kind of like speaks right up my alley. Another thing in regards to builds is that you're going to be able to equip 3 weapons and swap between them for combos. So you can equip 3 different types of weapons and then just like seamlessly swap between them to do different attacks. Kind of like what you can do in Nier Automata, if I remember correctly, because you had like the smaller weapon that you would use for quick attacks, and then you would have a different weapon for the heavy attacks. I would expect something alongside that to be the case here. In terms of the starting weapons that you will have on the version 1.0 of the game, you're going to be having swords, hammers, bows, staves, and shields, which, got me real excited. Like when you're bringing up a shield as a weapon, I'm just like, oh man. But I don't know if shields are going to be that appealing from what I've seen in the gameplay so far. Next up, I should bring some attention to the Gideon Coffin, which is what they call the red-looking thing that's on your back. That is the thing that's got like those red tendrils, and they say what that is going to enable you to do. Some of the actions are going to be leech energy from your foes. I'm assuming they mean leech HP, specifically because the word leech is used, but the word energy is kind of like weird. Could it be like some kind of energy to trigger more special attacks? Could it be health? What could it be? I think they're talking about health there. And it also has some mechanics that allow you to move around quickly. We see them using the Gideon Coffin as like a grappling hook in certain situations. So that is definitely going to be a mechanic. And then there is also the potential for this thing to buff your allies. It also appears to enable finisher moves. Like I told you, you can use this to like grab big ass weapons from big ass monsters and do like finishing attacks with it. We see some of that during the gameplay as well. Then they talked about a social website that they're going to be working on. Oh yes, they're pulling all of the live service stops, but this is going to be called the Hanging Garden. And apparently in this website, you're going to be able to manage your characters and equipment when you are outside the game. So you'll be able to like put together builds. You'll be able to use the crafting system. You'll be able to, I'm assuming upgrade some of your gear, basically all of your inventory management needs, as well as, even just managing your different characters. You're going to be able to do that on this social website, which, to be honest, I've seen a lot of people criticize this. I think this is actually a good thing if you're doing a live service game. Like a feature like this can actually be useful, even though nowadays you would see something like this more in a phone app. And I know you guys are like, oh my God, but I hate mobile. And yeah, I hate mobile too. I hate everything when it comes to gaming about mobile because I just don't like gaming on a touchscreen. But if you give me like an app that would allow me to, just mess around with character inventory, even for Monster Hunter, this is something that I would like. Like, I know that Destiny did something similar to this, and sometimes you would even be able to use it to like transfer items between your characters. That was actually somewhat convenient. So I'm not super against this website thing that they're talking about. It doesn't really bother me that much. But next, let's talk about their live service updates, like their plan for the continued support of this game. Now, the core concept behind their live service strategy is basically pursue action as players push forward to a never-ending goal. This is not my words. This is a direct quote from the developers. Push action as they push forward to a never-ending goal. Not a big fan of that. You guys know me that I like being able to achieve my goals in video games. I don't like this idea of just like constantly chasing a carrot that you're never going to end. These types of quotes remind me basically of the stuff that they do in World of Warcraft, which basically you're forced to, do a bunch of chores whenever you want to actually just engage in content that is interesting to you. They force a bunch of other stuff down your throat. So I'm hoping that is not the case here, and I don't think it would make a lot of sense to be that bad. But, I also see a lot of times whenever you have these live service games that you end up with kind of like a very unsatisfying experience by the time you're finished with the very first time that you finish through the story. Like a good example of this would be the original Destiny, where, the starting story, as we all know, I don't even have time to explain to you why I don't have time to explain. I think we all remember that. That was very much a shallow thing, a shallow experience that left us just like, okay, this is your story? Great. Friggin' fantastic. And then they said the words that almost made me lose interest right then and there. And that is, this game is going to feature a battle pass type system. I'm not a big fan of battle passes. It's like I could spend hours in here explaining to you guys why I don't like battle passes. But basically the idea is that, there's always stuff that, sorry, my voice is a little bit cracking because I've been streaming a little bit too much. There's always stuff that you end up missing on whenever you do one of these battle passes, because say if you're playing more than one game at the same time, it's like, oh, I want to play this game a little bit more. Oh, but I need to go do my chores in this other game to make sure that I get all of my money's worth for this thing that I've already spent money on. I am not a huge fan of battle passes to begin with. But then on top of it, they say the battle pass is going to include items that can help with game progression as well as cosmetics. And I'm just like, seriously? Items that help with game progression? Are you insane? Like, that to me was just like, I don't know what you were expecting, because you look at this I would argue is what brought about the like to dislike ratio that you see in that specific interview. Obviously, I'm not a fan of battle passes including items that help with your game progression. I don't think that is fair, because that indirectly or directly even just straight up creates a pay-to-win experience. So I'm not a huge fan of this at all. And this is like one of the biggest things that kind of kills a lot of my hype for this game. And they also said there's also going to be items that players will be able to purchase directly. So, they're going to have your battle pass. They're going to sell you stuff directly. I'm assuming you'll be able to buy boosters and stuff like that, which is not really a good look. And then they give you the usual line that we want to build this together with the players, which is kind of like how most companies nowadays cover their asses whenever it comes to this stuff. It's like, hey, we're open to feedback. But it's like we all know you guys are trying to monetize this as heavily as you possibly can. And I understand gaming is a business. It is what it is, but I don't have to like it. Then they detail a little bit of what you can expect on regular updates. One of the things is going to be some of these updates will add action moves that you can equip as skills. I'm hoping that these are not a part of the battle pass. I'm hoping that these will be given freely to every single player, because if you need to basically pay money to get more skills, I think that is a very, very bad environment for your community to truly flourish, but that's just me. They're going to add new areas that you will be able to adventure in after launch. I'm not sure what the business model is going to be there, if this is going to be free stuff or if this is going to be something that you have to buy in an expansion. I don't know what the deal is. They haven't really detailed all that much. There's going to be time-limited seasonal events, so they want to get you in with that FOMO right there. Make sure that you play the game and stay active and all of this usual stuff. They want the engagement metrics, basically. There's going to be ranking challenges, and there's going to be event-type content where players will compete to see how far they can climb up the tower. Yeah, these are pretty much all of the notes that I've taken. Now, my thoughts after all of this is like, look, I'm going to give it a shot because it's a Platinum Games title and I'm curious about it and I want to at least play the starting experience of this game. But my hype is pretty much to a much lower level than it was when this was originally announced, when I saw the first gameplay in 2019. I am way less hyped about this experience, and I don't think that this is a game that I will stick with for too long, unless they do a really good job of implementing these things. Because I don't think I need to remind everyone about how many live service games I've gotten involved in and ended up being extremely disappointing. And it's just I've reached the point where I just hear the words live service and I'm instantly like taken aback, and I don't know. You guys let me know how you feel about all of this stuff. I just wanted to compile all of the information because I'm still somewhat interested in Babylon's Fall, but I'm no longer looking at this as something like, oh man, I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's just like, okay, fine. I guess I'll check it out when it comes out or whatever. But yep, this was one of the games I was really looking forward to. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy this video, hit the dislike button. If you usually enjoy my content, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.